Now, what's really remarkable is that it's not only the lawmakers who have no idea what they're talking about, but also the news reporters who are spewing the crap. Check this out, where this reporter actually referred to a pistol as an assault-style weapon.
Tonight, a California judge making news after he released a video of himself showing off an assault-style weapon in his chambers.
An assault-style weapon while he's holding a standard pistol. Now that's something you guys will probably hear a lot of people call them. Big scary weapons, assault-style weapons, that's what they label them. But the truth is, a lot of them have no idea what they're talking about. Now what's really interesting is that despite the judge being in his chambers in a completely safe environment, making sure everything was safe for demonstration, a lot of people still weren't happy about it. And hear what the mainstream media had to say and why they didn't like it.
What this judge did is he appointed himself as an expert in a case that was before his court.
Yeah.
And not only did he do that, but he did it in a very public way on social media and basically badmouthed the other judges in the Ninth Circuit, saying they don't understand this issue.
Clark said Van Dyke became his own expert in a case he was deciding and introduced more evidence to the case with the YouTube video.
Judges are not allowed to do that. Judges are there to call balls and strikes. They're not there to create evidence in a case that's before them.
Clark said the video becomes a conflict of interest for the judge in the Ninth Circuit when it comes to Second Amendment rights. Will the judge be censured for his conduct?
It was not illegal, but the question was, does it violate judicial canons of ethics?
The Ninth Circuit declined to comment. Van Dyke did.
See, this is why you gotta love these type of people. They get the job, and then they said, "Here I am doing my job," and y'all want to be on my ass about it. Where the hell are my cigars at? Did I leave them in the car? Ain't that a beach? I'll be back. I'll be back. Here, y'all watch the video.
Did not respond. The judges decided 7-4 in favor of the state of California's ban on the large magazines.
Now you guys know how crazy California can be, and to me I don't see that much of an issue with it. I understand the conflict of interest points that are being argued, but I really do think that it's important that people understand what's happening, how these things work, and why the safety is necessary, and why some of the points that people argue for gun regulation just don't make sense. Now in this particular instance, they're talking about California and their 10-round restrictions. And what they've done is essentially deem magazines as an accessory to a firearm. And what the judge is saying is that that does not make sense because it's an integral part to the firearm functioning. But under their logic of that being an accessory, anything can then be an accessory and banned under their logic. So for instance, a firing pin, a takedown lever, even a red dot. Now like I said, I think it's a really brave step that that judge took. But there was also an exchange between the judge and an advocate for gun bans, which showed you that these advocates for gun bans, a lot of them have no idea what they're talking about. It's definitely worth the watch. Have a look.
Hi, I'm Judge Van Dyke, and welcome to my chambers. I'm making this video as part of my opinion in the Duncan v. Bonta case. In this case, the state of California made the argument, which the majority has now accepted, that a magazine holding more than 10 rounds is just an accessory, not an arm protected by the Second Amendment's right of the people to keep and bear arms. I think anyone with a basic familiarity with firearms could show you that this attempted distinction is simply inconsistent with reality. I alluded to this during oral argument when I asked California's counsel about the balance of the tests that are proposed for what qualifies as an arm protected by the Second Amendment. Let's go to that exchange now.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because
Yes, Aaron.
so the way you're treating magazines, it seems like you could use the same sort of rationale as between a non-semi-automatic firearm, say a lever action or a bolt action or a revolver type action, and a semi-automatic firearm. So I'm trying to figure out if you're saying, well, what we do is we say, have people ever banned particularly dangerous rounds? And now we're saying large capacity magazines are particularly dangerous. Why couldn't that same reasoning be used to ban semi-automatic firearms altogether? To say, because I mean, think about it, like during the Revolutionary War, if the United States had semi-automatic firearms that only held 5 to 10 rounds, it would have been about 10 minutes and it would have been over, right? As against muskets. So clearly, the semi-automatic mechanism is way more particularly dangerous than the difference, the delta between a 10-round magazine and a 15-round magazine. So why does your reasoning not mean that, if this reasoning works, why does your reasoning not mean that a state could just ban the semi-automatic firearms altogether?
So if we're just start talking, Your Honor, about this initial sort of textual question, I think if you're dealing with a semi-automatic, that would